They said it could never happen. They said the giants of football were untouchable, that the machine built around Lionel Messi could not be broken, that the tournament had already been scripted long before the whistle ever blew. But for 97 agonizing minutes, on a night that will haunt FIFA's boardrooms for years, a country most people cannot even locate on a map came within a single kick of tearing the entire World Cup apart. This is the story they wanted you to forget. This is the night Cape Verde nearly ended everything. Think about that for a moment. A nation of barely 500,000 people, an archipelago of 10 volcanic islands drifting in the Atlantic off the coast of West Africa, walking onto the biggest stage in world sport for the first time in their history, and standing across from them, the reigning world champions, the golden generation, the face of FIFA's global empire, Lionel Messi himself. On paper, it was a mismatch so severe it bordered on cruelty. In reality, it became something else entirely. It became the closest brush with catastrophe FIFA has ever experienced. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why the final whistle in that stadium was met not with celebration, but with something closer to relief in the corridors of power. Before we go any further, if stories like this, the ones that peel back the curtain and show you what almost was, are the reason you're here, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because what's coming next will change the way you see this entire tournament. Here is the contradiction at the heart of everything. The World Cup is sold to the world as a stage of dreams, a place where anything can happen, where the smallest nation can rise against the largest. That is the promise. That is the marketing. That is the story stitched into every broadcast, every advertisement, every anthem. And yet, when a tiny island nation actually threatened to make that promise real, the entire commercial machine trembled. Because dreams are only allowed to come true when they do not cost billions. Sit with that. Sit with that carefully. Cape Verde arrived at this World Cup as pure outsiders. Their squad was assembled from second division clubs across Portugal, France, and lower European leagues. Their coach, Bubista, had built the team on grit, discipline, and a suffocating counterattacking system that no one had bothered to study. Their captain kissed the badge like a man who understood the weight of history. Their goalkeeper, a name few had ever spoken before that night, would soon become a legend. And when the anthems played, the players wept openly, tears streaming down faces that carried the hopes of every island back home. This was not a football match to them. This was the arrival of a nation. Argentina came out swinging, Messi orchestrating from deep, threading passes only he can see, the front line pressing high, the midfield dominating possession. Within 23 minutes, the inevitable arrived. Argentina won, Cape Verde nothing. The pundits nodded. The script was unfolding as expected. The commercial partners exhaled. And then something impossible began to happen. Cape Verde did not fold. They did not retreat into their shell and accept their fate. They came forward. They pressed. They believed. And in the 41st minute, a long ball, a defensive miscommunication, a striker from a club most fans had never heard of, and the ball was in the back of the Argentine net. 1-1. The stadium went silent. Not the roaring silence of shock, but the trembling silence of a world realizing it might be witnessing something it was not prepared for. Argentina responded, as champions do. A second-half strike from a set piece restored their lead. 2-1. Normal service resumed. The broadcast graphics returned to their pre-approved narratives. And then, in the 73rd minute, Cape Verde struck again. A header. A goalkeeper stranded. A goal so pure, so defiant, so utterly unscripted, that commentators around the world lost their words mid-sentence. 2-2. And Argentina, the world champions, the FIFA flagship, were suddenly 17 minutes from elimination. Pull back further and the picture grows darker. Because this was never just about football. Messi is not merely a player. He is a brand worth billions, a face that sells jerseys in Tokyo and Lagos and Sao Paulo, the single most valuable human asset FIFA possesses in its modern era. His early exit would have detonated sponsorship deals, collapsed viewership projections, gutted advertising revenue across 3 continents. Broadcasters had built entire tournament narratives around his final dance. Betting markets had priced Argentina as favorites. Merchandise had been shipped. Stadiums had been sold on his presence in the knockout rounds. And now, a team whose entire annual football budget would not cover a single week of Messi's wages was minutes away from erasing all of it. The Cape Verde goalkeeper became a wall, save after save, diving low, springing high, punching clear, smothering shots at his feet. Argentine forwards clutched their heads in disbelief. Messi, the greatest to ever play the game, stood with his hands on his hips, staring into the distance like a man watching a story he no longer controlled. The clock ticked. 80 minutes, 85, 90, into stoppage time. Every second was a hammer blow. Every clearance from the Cape Verde defense was met with a roar that shook the foundations of the stadium. Neutrals around the world had chosen a side, and it was not the champions. And then, in the 97th minute, football did what football does. A cross from the right, the defender stretching, sliding, desperate. A touch, just a fraction of a boot, and the ball spun past his own goalkeeper and into the net. An own goal. 3-2. Argentina survived. Cape Verde had been undone not by Messi, not by Argentine brilliance, but by the cruelest twist the sport can deliver. The players collapsed to the turf. Some sobbed openly. Others simply stared at the sky, unable to comprehend how close they had come. Before we go into what this really means, and it means far more than a scoreline, if you've made it this far, do me one favor. Subscribe. Turn on notifications, because the stories we're covering next dig even deeper into what this tournament is really about, and you will not want to miss them. Now here is where it changes completely, because Cape Verde did not lose that night. Not really. They walked off the pitch to a standing ovation from a stadium full of neutrals. Argentine players, Messi included, embraced them one by one, some visibly emotional, some whispering words of respect. Social media exploded. Their goalkeeper trended worldwide. Their coach was hailed as a tactical genius. Their captain's post-match interview, delivered with tears in his eyes and pride in his voice, was replayed millions of times within hours. A nation of 500,000 had, in 97 minutes, announced itself to the world. And FIFA breathed. Quietly. Carefully. But they breathed. Because make no mistake, this was the closest the modern World Cup has ever come to a commercial catastrophe. Imagine the headlines. Imagine the fallout. Imagine a tournament stripped of its biggest star before the knockout rounds. Its narrative shattered, its sponsors scrambling, its broadcasters recalculating billions in projected revenue. The machine that presents itself as the guardian of dreams was, for 97 minutes, staring directly into the abyss of its own promises coming true. And that is the contradiction the sport rarely wants you to see. The story of Cape Verde is not a story of failure. It is the story of what football is supposed to be. Before the money, before the marketing, before the manufactured storylines. It is 11 men from 10 small islands, fearless, unbowed, refusing to accept their place in the script. It is a goalkeeper who will never buy another drink in his hometown. It is a coach who proved that belief, structure, and heart can shake giants. It is a nation that walked into a World Cup as strangers and walked out as legends. And it is a warning, a quiet, thunderous warning, that the giants are not as untouchable as the machine wants you to believe. So what do you think? Was this the greatest near miracle in World Cup history? Was Cape Verde robbed by fate, or did Argentina simply survive the way champions do? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all, and I want to hear your take. If this video moved you, if it made you see this tournament differently, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with someone who needs to hear this story. Because the world may have moved on to the next match, to the next headline, to the next manufactured moment, but Cape Verde, for one unforgettable night, reminded us of something we had almost forgotten, that the beautiful game still belongs to the dreamers. And sometimes, even when the scoreboard says otherwise, the dreamers win.